Well, we do have this severe weather threat, obviously, and that's the biggest concern with this system. But winter conditions are also returning on the north side of the storm system to Minnesota. That's after a record warm day yesterday. So really a tale of 2 days. Snow is already starting to accumulate in Hawley, Minnesota. Winter weather advisory is in place, as well as a high wind warning. We can kind of hear it right there. We've got Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel. He's in Hawley. And Mike, listen, all of the headlines, I think, today are going to be very severe weather dominated, but we can't ignore the fact that, you're going to be standing in a place that's going to see a ton of snow, and obviously that wind is already whipping around. We can hear it coming through on your microphone.
Yes, good morning, Nick. Quite a change from yesterday. Temperatures in nearby Fargo topped out at a record-tying 68, and check out what they were doing yesterday. Walking the streets in shirt sleeves, eating ice cream, milkshakes, riding their bikes. Tops were down on convertibles. But that has all come to a crashing end, much like on Monday where they dropped 50 degrees in 12 hours. We have dropped from 68 now down to 21 in Fargo, and the wind chill is 0 because the winds were sustained at 40. Last check, gusting over 50 miles an hour. Their peak gust 53. So we've got the winter storm warnings. We've got blizzard warnings down towards Fergus Falls, down towards Watertown, South Dakota. Fargo itself is in a winter weather advisory for several inches of snow. Also a high wind warning. Now, most of these warnings and the advisories go until 7 p.m. By that point, the wind will have died down and the snow will have tapered off. But most of the snow is going to fall this morning and early this afternoon. You can see on the radar, you get west of Fargo and there's really nothing happening. This is a very tight gradient, a very narrow band, tough to forecast. We jogged over to Detroit Lakes. Now we jogged back here to Hawley, Minnesota, about midway, and about a half an hour on the east side of Fargo and Moorhead, Minnesota. Temperatures today will stay right where they are, around 20 degrees, which, by the way, is below average. Yesterday, we were 33 degrees above average, and today we're going to be about 15 or 20 degrees below average. So quite a weather whiplash here in the Dakotas and parts of Minnesota, not only with the temperature drop, but also these icy, bone-chilling winds and the snow and blowing snow. I can tell you right now, Nick, it's really not snowing that much. It's all being picked up off the ground, what we call a ground blizzard. If it was snowing heavily, you wouldn't even be able to see me from where I'm standing at about 10 to 15 yards from the camera. Tomorrow, a better day. The sun comes out, the winds back off, but highs about 30. A little bit below average, and then we'll warm up a little bit going into next week. Nothing like we saw yesterday. And I have to tell you, Nick, yesterday people were just, they were coming out of the woodwork. It was so nice. But they knew what was coming today. And as you can see, instead of 2 layers on, I've got about 5, maybe 6 layers on this morning, trying to stay warm. I can even hear the wind just roaring through the forest coming at us in this direction. That's a northwest, icy, cold wind. And as I mentioned, we're getting gusts 45 to over 50 miles an hour across a wide area here in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, we could hear it through your microphone really the entire time you were talking. It is very windy, very active. I got to say, too, you are a seasoned vet when it comes to these storms, and I can tell you're maybe even a little bit cold out there right now. And so that speaks volumes because you know how to tackle these types of temperatures and these conditions.
The face. It's the face that feels it, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And when we left Detroit Lakes at 5 a.m. this morning, we were getting a driving sleet storm. It was like frozen garden peas coming at you at 35 to 40 miles an hour. So that was even more painful than standing here right now in Hawley.
Quite the departure from almost 70 degrees yesterday. Mike Seidel, our storm specialist out in the field. Thank you for that update, sir.
As well as a high wind warning. And Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel is in Hawley this morning. And Mike, good morning to you. Temperatures in the teens, it's cold, and the snow really is going to be picking up.
Yeah, so a big change from yesterday in Fargo. It was a wonderful day yesterday, spectacular. I want to show you what they were doing in Fargo yesterday. Tops were down on the cars. I saw a lot of folks walking up and down the street with ice cream cones. Just lovely. 68 tied the record. Keep in mind, the average high is 35. So it was way, way above average. This morning we dropped down to 21, so we've gone from 68 to 21. That is a 47-degree drop. They dropped 50 degrees in under 12 hours on Monday. So they've had two kind of temperature whiplashes this week. Now the wind is blowing the snow around. Last hour in Fargo, gusting close to 50 miles an hour. We're sustained now at 37. So the wind chill now is up to 1 lonely degree. Look at that snow blowing around. That's the issue. You don't have to have a lot of snow to have a ground blizzard. This is not officially a ground blizzard because the visibility is not down to a quarter mile, but you can see all the snow that's blowing right here on the ground. That's what's blowing across the highways here in this part of the country, parts of Minnesota, western Minnesota, and even into eastern parts of North Dakota. Although it is not snowing right now at the Fargo airport. They're a little too far to the west, but you get a sense of how miserable it is out here compared to yesterday when it was nearly 70 degrees. Minneapolis yesterday, 75, set a record. Snowfall totals, this is not going to be one of those storms where we're digging out a feet of snow. We're talking generally 3 to 5 in that band. Look how narrow it is. It's between Fargo and the Twin Cities. So if you're coming up 94 today, between Fargo, Minneapolis, back and forth, that is the area of concern, that narrow area. We'll see if they end up shutting down a section of 94. I don't think they will. But the winds will stay up through this afternoon. The high wind warning goes until 7 p.m. Likewise, the winter weather advisory in Fargo and the other areas like Detroit Lakes, winter storm warning. A couple counties south, Fergus Falls, is under a blizzard warning. They all end at 7 p.m. as the wind and the snow go away, thankfully. Tomorrow it's going to be cold but sunny. Highs around 30, tomorrow morning around 10. So we're going to be actually 5 degrees below average tomorrow for the afternoon high, Kendall. And then we'll start to warm up a little bit next week, but not up to 70. That's not in the cards for at least a while. In fact, I checked yesterday, the average high of 70 in Fargo, climatologically, past 30 years, doesn't occur until the middle of May. So we're a couple months above average, ahead of average as far as the temperatures yesterday. It was just such a nice day on the streets in Fargo, but always different today. By the way, they did cancel the St. Patty's Day parade today, Kendall and Fargo. They've rescheduled it for next Saturday, but the all-important bar crawl is still on. Remember, drink responsibly if you're participating in the bar crawl in Fargo today. So that's on the parade next Saturday.
That is good to know, but it's just unfortunate, Mike. Those 70s, they're just a distant memory, and it's hard to get over the ferocious wind that we hear in your mic. Nick Koster sitting next to me. We just keep shaking our head. You're doing a great job out there. Live for us in the conditions, the wind right out of the north. Mike Seidel, thank you. We'll be checking back in. In place, and that's where we find Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel, who is live for us this morning. And Mike, I can only imagine what folks in Minnesota are thinking, as well as in the Dakotas this morning, waking up to blowing snow when it was so nice just 24 hours ago.
Yes, indeed. It's the whiplash effect. They had it earlier in the week where it dropped 50 degrees in 12 hours. Yesterday in Fargo, a record-tying 68. How about Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, breaking the record, 75? Well, that is a memory. Not too far away, 12, 15 hours ago. But look at this. We're here in Detroit Lakes, about an hour off to the east of Fargo, and the wind's now gusting over 40 miles an hour. It's now to 18 degrees. So we've dropped 50 degrees since yesterday afternoon in Fargo, and the wind chill now is down around 1 to 2 above zero. Very cold day out here, and considering the contrast from yesterday, I want to show you some video I shot yesterday. We were in Fargo. We were out there from about 10 to 5. What a gorgeous afternoon. It doesn't get any nicer than this in mid-March. Remember, their average high yesterday was 35 degrees, and they were more than 30, almost 35 degrees above that. So everybody was out. A lot of folks walking up and down the streets eating ice cream cones. What a day. I saw a couple of cars with their tops down, the convertibles down, people riding their bikes and just enjoying the weather because it's very unusual. I mean, we're talking record warmth. To see that kind of weather in mid-March, an average high of 70 is more typical in mid-May and on. Then it gets warmer and warmer as you get through June and into July. But out here, we've got the snow and the blowing snow. You can see the roads are snow-packed and snow-covered. The plows are out doing the best they can on the way here as we move from the area to our west. we saw a passenger bus that was in the ditch. It hadn't turned over. There was a big tow truck there. I could not see if there was anybody in the bus except the driver. So just remember, you got to slow down and take it easy, because before the snow fell, we had a little bit of freezing rain, and then we had a driving sleet storm at about 4 Central this morning when we went outside. I mean, these suckers were as big as garden peas. It was just coming sideways, and you could not look into it. It was like atmospheric dermabrasion. So look at the wind blowing the snow around right now. We're gusting, as they said, over 40. Fargo's gusted to 53 miles an hour. They're kind of out of the snow band. You can see where the band is setting up on the radar, and that pretty much aligns to where we think and what we're forecasting the higher snowfall totals to be. 3 to 5 inches. Yeah, it's not a crippling snowfall, but it's plowable, and combined with these winds, it's causing problems with travel, certainly compared to yesterday. And another thing to keep in mind, these winds will howl through the afternoon. The high wind warning goes until 7 p.m., as well as the winter storm warning here, and then just down to the next county in Fergus Falls, they're under a blizzard warning. It really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of how strong the winds are going to be, and it's also a function of what forecast office is looking at the weather. But winds coming right out of the northwest, just pelting us with snowfall. And again, what a switch! What a quick change from what we had this time yesterday.
Yeah, Mike, I think you just officially coined a new term, atmospheric dermabrasion. That is the best way to describe what's going on right now, that sideways snow just slapping you right there in the face. Of course, the traffic behind you looks to be moving decently well, but slippery conditions, unfortunately, now throughout the rest of the day.
Well, at least the train is moving fine.
Oh, the train,
you can see the train is moving fine.
It's hard to make out what exactly
it is. Traffic this morning.
It's that visibility,
that's
half of a mile.
Yeah, we drove about a half an hour from the earlier location, and we passed one car. Here comes another car down the frontage road, but we saw one car in about a half an hour, about 30 miles of driving. So that gives you an idea of how few people are out this morning here in this part of the Midwest. Wow, it is just pelting us here, and we're going to stay in this. By the way, the snow will wind down by early afternoon. This is not an all-day affair, but remember, the wind will continue the ground near blizzard effect through this evening, into this evening.
Well, glad, Mike, to see that most folks are heeding those winter weather alerts and staying off the roads. Mike Seidel will continue to check in with you throughout the morning. And from Minnesota to Missouri, devastating and sadly deadly tornadoes slammed the state of Missouri overnight. At least 3 people have been killed as a result of the severe weather outbreak, including 1 death out of Butler County. And joining us now on the phone is Robbie Myers. He is the Emergency Management Director for Butler County, Missouri. And Robbie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here this morning on Fox Weather. What more can you share?
Starting to accumulate in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. A winter weather advisory is in place, as well as a high wind warning, and those winds are certainly whipping around. We've been hearing them all morning long. Checking in with Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel. Yep, you can still hear him out there in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. It's windy, Mike. We know it's much colder than it was yesterday, and you've been talking about you've been comparing and contrasting yesterday to today all morning long. Yesterday, people were walking around, in T-shirts, right?
T-shirts, even shorts, riding their bikes. I saw a couple of convertible tops down. Not today, Nick. Forget about that. Look at this. What a change. We've got that winter storm warning until 7 p.m., high wind warning until 7 p.m. for Fargo, where they're under an advisory. And then south of here, in parts of 2 states, including South Dakota and extreme southwest Minnesota, we have a blizzard warning. That includes just south of here in Fergus Falls, the next county down. So we've got a lot of wind out here. Some of the gusts could top 60. Already 53 is the peak gust in Fargo, but the snow has ended there. They didn't get much snow. Let's go to the radar. You'll see what I'm talking about. This band is wrapping around the backside of this very potent storm. A lot of wind because the pressure has just collapsed. And so we're getting the northwest wind on the cold side of the storm. On the warm side is where we have the really dangerous, life-threatening weather. Not that you shouldn't take this seriously, but with snowfall, you just stay off the roads, and you're usually in pretty good shape. With that said, the roads are not in great shape. Very little traffic on 10 today. This is the main road from here over towards the Fargo area, and then if you go that way, you end up down there with what I like to call funky cold Wadena, Minnesota. So temperatures stay in the upper teens, 18 now. Wind chill is 1 below 0. Now, the peak gusts here have been about 40 miles an hour, so not as windy here yet as it has been just an hour off to our west in Fargo. As far as power outages, nothing to be concerned with yet. Nothing like we're dealing with, unfortunately, where we've had the severe weather, the strong winds, and the tornadoes. Snowfall totals, here's the map. This is not a big snowfall by any means. 3 to 5 inches, we'll call it plowable, not crippling. But the problem is you've got powdery snow, 18 degrees, that ratio is 15 or more to 1, and you throw in wind gusts 40, 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour, and you get the whiteouts at times on these highways. I-94, the interstate that will be mostly impacted, stretched between Fargo and Minneapolis-St. Paul. This is not a storm for the Twin Cities, where, by the way, Nick, yesterday, 75 degrees in the Twin Cities. That broke the record by 2 degrees. So what a turnaround. A little weather whiplash. Second time this week in Fargo. Monday, they dropped from 66 down to 16 in less than 12 hours.
Wow.
You get a sense of what March is like up here in the upper Midwest and Northern Plains. They're not surprised. This is not that unusual for it to get this kind of quick change as the seasons change.
They're almost used to it. Yeah, you said the high yesterday there was what, in the 70s, I believe?
68.
68, close to 70 right now. Where you're standing, the wind chill is at 1 below.
1 below 0.
That's just how it goes, I guess, in the Northern Plains in March, as you said. We hope you're staying good and warm. You said you threw on, what, an extra layer for this storm, right? So you've got a total of 3 layers going?
Well, no, yesterday I had 2, and today I have 4. But the jacket should count as 2, really. I mean, this is this Eddie Bauer jacket is just incredible. I mean, I get in the vehicle and I have to literally turn the heat off because it's so warm. And then I have my step-in suit and then 2 layers below that. So 4 layers, which is enough to get by. Now, if the wind chills are 20, 30 below 0, then I have to think about covering up my face. But right now, I'm pretty toasty, except when the wind hits my face and you get a little bit of a burning sensation. By the way, when we left the hotel here in Detroit Lakes at 4 a.m. Central this morning, it was a driving sleet storm, Nick. Those suckers were as big as garden peas incoming. You had to walk like this. It was seriously, seriously painful. Now we just have the dendrites, what we call the snowflakes.
Yeah, I bet that didn't feel great on your face. Mr. Mike Seidel, thank you for that very descriptive report. We appreciate it. And we hope you, stay nice and warm here in between this shot and the next. We'll be checking back in with you all morning long.